everyone. Hi, and welcome to the Real with Shy Power Pack series, where I bring to you 50 amazing business experts. Today, I have with me a five-time best-selling and multiple award-winning author, TEDx speaker, life coach, actor, four-time Ironman, cross-country cyclist, and radio personality. Allow me to introduce to you Mr. G. Brian Benson.
Good morning, Shy. How are you?
I am wonderful, Mr. Benson, and thank you for being here with us at The Real with Shy. It's indeed a pleasure. All right. So tell us, who is Brian Benson? And give us a little bit of your backstory.
Sure. Well, thank you. I kind of feel like I've lived a lot of lifetimes. And, the one that I'm currently on that I know that I will ride out into the sunset with is creating positive content and media, through a lot of different avenues, whether it's a self-help book or a children's book or, a spoken word video or a short film, you name it. And I've kind of been on this journey the last 10 years after I left my family business. I was up in Oregon. We had a golf center where we had a driving range, a retail store, and a 9-hole par 3 course. And I kind of grew up working there, and I ended up running it for 11 years. And I just kind of started feeling like I was supposed to do something else with my life. I felt like I had this gift inside of me that wanted to come out, although at the time I had no idea what it was or how to even release it. But the first step was to have a chat with my dad and say, you know what, I think I'm done. And from there, I just kind of continued to follow my intuition, and all kinds of crazy things started happening, following my intuition as well as stepping out of my comfort zone. And all these things started happening that I really had no idea were inside of me, but I just kind of honored the calling, and it's led me here, shaking knees and all at times.
I read a little bit about that in your book, about you being in the family business and leaving after 11 years. That must have been really hard. So tell us, what was it like to have that conversation with your dad? Hey, Dad, I am going to leave our family business. And mind you, just to interject here on this one, Brian, that's a dream job to a lot of people. I mean,
yeah,
come on.
I know.
So what was going on with you at that time, and what did you do to handle that situation in terms of your dad? How did you handle that situation?
Well, I was very fortunate. He was understanding, and he ultimately just wanted me to be happy. So I didn't really get any pushback from that. I probably put some pressure on myself, and feeling a little bit of guilt, like, here was this great opportunity that was presented to me, yet I don't want to do it anymore. And like you said, it's a lot of people's dream jobs, to be there at a place like that. So it was hard only in that, I probably put a little bit of pressure on myself. Other than that, it was pretty smooth, although I couldn't leave as soon as I had wanted to. I ended up having to stay an extra year because we decided to sell it and go through that whole process of listing it and looking for a buyer and finding the right buyer. And so I struggled a lot that last year, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise. I was dealing with a staph infection in my knee, and I ended up having to have surgery for it and going through rehab and stuff like that. But I also was just so ready to hit the road and kind of see what was next. So one day I sat down and just felt like I should write down a handful of things that I felt like might help me stay in balance during this period. And, I just tucked that list into my back pocket, and every once in a while I would just refer to it, and it helped me. So much so that my intuition just screamed, expand the list and write a book. And I'd never written anything before, but that was kind of gave me a direction to head into once I did leave. So I ended up self-publishing it, and it was just kind of off to the races from there.
Okay, and what was that first book?
It was called Brian's List, 26 and a half easy-to-use ideas on how to live a fun, balanced, healthy life. And it was, it was funny because I didn't really market it that much. I did, number one, I didn't know how to. This was like in 2009, and I also was probably too shy, and I still hadn't really come into, solidifying my own foundation of self-acceptance and stuff. And so, but it ended up winning a couple of awards, and so it was good in that it forced me. I knew that if I wanted to share the book, I would have to start learning how to be comfortable speaking in front of people. And so, I did a ton of things to really begin that process of becoming more comfortable.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the life coach, Brian, because I realize there are many sides to Brian Benson. So let's talk about the life coach, Brian.
Sure.
How did you become a life coach? How did you know that you wanted to become a life coach?
Well, I think it was just kind of, for me, like when the book came out in 2009 and I started kind of doing some things, I created a couple of interactive workshops, and I hired someone to co-host an internet radio show with me. So I did all these things to really try to put myself out there, while at the same time learn how to, just be comfortable speaking in front of others. So it just, I don't know, it just felt like kind of almost a natural fit that as I was starting to write, self-help books, I wrote another one a few years after that called Finding Your Voice, that it just seemed like a natural fit to become, go through a certification process. And I learned a lot about myself at the same time. So, it was just another wonderful way to, I keep saying solidify my foundation, but it was so important, just for me to continue to gain more self-awareness. So ultimately that would help me help others.
I agree. I totally agree, because that was kind of my story in becoming a life coach myself. That's why I asked. It was kind of me trying to find myself on this journey of self-discovery, because I really started in network marketing and then ended up in podcasting, loved it. And then I found myself in life coaching, and I'm like, okay, how many things? And then I'm also into film. I'm like, so when I saw your bio, I was like, yes, okay, that's my guy. Yeah, let's get this one down, because
Absolutely.
Everything I read just resonated with me, because I could understand being passionate about different things. So let's talk about film. What got you started in film, and what was that journey like?
Well, that was kind of an accident as well. So, in addition to creating that workshop and hiring someone to co-host an internet radio show with me, what else did I do? I took a few community college speech classes. I did Toastmasters for a year. I really forced myself. It was scary to be comfortable, but I also took an acting class. And I had no plans on acting after it was over, but so the class might have lasted a couple months, and then very shortly thereafter, I had a dream about a little story about a street guitarist, and I woke up and felt like, wow, I need to write this down for whatever reason, and so I did, and I kind of randomly met a young filmmaker a couple weeks later, and I said, hey, I have this idea about a potential short film, and I've never acted before, I've never made a film. Would you want to do it with me? And he said, yeah. And so shortly thereafter, we found ourselves on the streets of Reno, Nevada, over the course of about 4 or 5 nights, making this little short film called Guitar Man. And it was just a really amazing, empowering experience for me. I never acted before. I never played guitar in front of anybody before either. I was a closet guitarist. And so it was just really fun, and it made me feel alive. And it ended up getting accepted to quite a few film festivals, which was surprising. But, initially I only thought the only way that I maybe could reach people was through books, but this just kind of opened my world up and in a whole nother way to get positive messages out there. And so somebody else saw that Guitar Man and gave me the lead in their short film. And the female lead, she's been an actress her whole life. She's 83 now. Her mom was even in Citizen Kane. It's amazing. Wow. But we kept in touch, and I was in Reno at the time, and then my intuition was saying, to move to LA. And so I moved to LA 5 years ago, and I ended up renting a little studio attached to this woman's house. And so it's just amazing how things connect, you know what I mean? And that's how I got into acting. And I took a little bit of a step back this year to focus on my book, but I've been blessed. I've studied really hard since I've been out here and gotten some parts, and I have a small role on a TV show that's a cable TV show that will be airing this spring. And so you just, I had no idea. It was not on my radar either.
Wow. Congratulations on the TV show, by the way.
Thank
a
you.
big plus for you. I mean, wow. Great things, big things. I mean, we're going to come into your book in 1 second because I really wanted, man, this book, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Yeah, that book. Okay. So let's get to the entrepreneur side of you, okay? What would you say is your single most difficult challenge as an entrepreneur, an author, kind of freelancing? What is your most difficult challenge?
Probably aspects of the marketing portion of it. There's a part of me that's kind of humble, and I don't like to. I see so many people marketing out there. They're just kind of like, look at me, and do this, do that. That's not how I am. I'm really proud of all the stuff that I've done and feel like it can be helpful. It's helped me. But the marketing portion of it, it's there's so many different ways to go about doing it or potentially spend money on it, and how do you really know what the best way is? Social media keeps changing, and the algorithms keep changing, and that makes things kind of potentially difficult or more expensive. So for me, it's just a matter of how do I get my stuff out there?
I can definitely, understand exactly what you mean by that, because I think even with me, that's one of my challenges. Like, I'm always learning something about marketing. There's so many different techniques, strategies, methods out there. So, I mean, for me, I kind of had to drown out the noise. I don't know if you kind of got to a point like that, drown out the noise and kind of find what works for me.
I'm trying to do that. Yeah, it's continually evolving. But another point about the whole marketing thing is, I only have so much bandwidth to do what I'm doing. And writing and creating and doing a lot of different, coaching and all that other stuff. It's like I don't have the energy to really do some of the things that I should probably be doing. How do you do it? What do you do?
Well, I was just thinking of a story. Funny enough, I was thinking about this guy who wanted to be a business coach to me, and he was offering a fair price, and all of that was great. But here's what I said to him: there are not enough hours in a day right now with everything that I have going on. There's just not enough hours, and I'm constantly trying to learn Instagram marketing and YouTube marketing. And so what I kind of did to help myself learn is I created a Facebook group. So I found different trainings, and most of them are free. And then I kind of teach what I learn, so it helps me practice. Because I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I'm not someone, this right here, this podcast is outside of my natural personality. When I first told people, even my mom, that I was doing this, she was like, what? Wait, what?
I'm the same way. I'm an outgoing introvert, but I'm an introvert.
Right. But I like that, because I have done so many tests trying to figure out, am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? Because I'm kind of good at these things. I love film, but I like being behind the camera. Right now, I'm in front of the camera. So what's happening, But I think it comes down to desire and passion. If you want something bad enough, and you said something earlier about stepping out of your comfort zone, and I think that anytime you're passionate about what you do, you find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened with you. You wanted to do this. This is your passion, so you get it done.
Yeah, thank you. It's still evolving, and I'm not quite sure what it's going to look like. But I've just had this intention the entire time. When I was 3, I told my mom I was put here to inspire people, and I know it kind of sounds weird, but once I left the family business and this started happening, she reminded me. It's like, whoa. So in some ways, I've always kind of felt like maybe I've known what my life's mission was internally. And so that's what is the kind of driving factor behind all the stuff that I'm doing, even though it's scary and, not my natural, some people like to be in front of the camera and, and look at me and stuff. And I know that's where I'm headed, but it's like not necessarily always comfortable, or I don't necessarily need it.
I completely understand. Trust me. But it's part of the process. It's what we have to do in this age of technology and social media as entrepreneurs to get our message out, to get eyes on us. So, I mean, I completely understand it's a process, and it sounds like you're doing it. You're loving it, although you said it's not in your comfort zone. But I wouldn't know. I think you're doing a great job.
Oh,
Speaking of great job,
yeah.
let's talk about this phenomenal book. Trying to get it into the camera. This book is amazing, Brian. Habits for Success. I've been promoting it on social media through my lives. It is a powerful book. I don't know what your other books have been like, but I know this book, this one.
Thank you.
Tell us a little about Habits for Success.
Well, it's kind of a culmination of the last 10 years, since I've left my family business. Another thing my mom reminded me about one time was that the only words that I ever said when I was really little was why. Like, why, Mom? Why this? Why that? And so I guess I've always been kind of inquisitive. And so all these habits that I write about, I've kind of been almost like in the observer's role, watching and documenting my own life the last 10 years. With the books, I don't really ever try to tell anybody what to do, just what has worked for me and what I feel like, are really solid ideas. So all these habits I write about are just, legitimate examples that have played a part in my own growth process and burgeoning self-awareness. And, I feel like I try to write about them in an inspiring way, kind of an entertaining way, with stories and stuff, as well as, a thought-provoking way to really get people to understand why it would be important to pay attention to what that particular lesson is or habit is, and how it can help solidify, everybody's, foundation. Because I think ultimately that's, we're here to learn and grow and gain self-awareness. And with all that being said, I think ultimately to really learn how to love and accept ourselves. And so all of these habits, I feel like, are really good foundation builders for that.
I agree 100%. And I think one of the things I appreciated about this book in particular is it wasn't just another hype book. These hype books, do this, and they're impractical.
Yeah.
We have lives, we have things to do. I think I loved your transparency. I got to know Brian Benson through this book. I felt like, yes, I know this author. I can, resound, or I feel what he feels. I understand. And I can come back to that part of you and your dad. And I was kind of like, yeah, I understand that feeling when you kind of have to be like, the path that you chose for me, or the path that we previously discussed, this is not me anymore. I've kind of outgrown this. And it was just amazing to read all of these habits. So there's a particular habit that I want to go into.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Where are you? Just say no. Let's talk a little about just say no.
Sure. That was really an important lesson for me, because there's a part of me that's, kind of very giving. And there's nothing wrong with being giving, but I think sometimes if we're doing it for the wrong reasons, or, too much at our own expense, it's not healthy. I know when I say the wrong reasons, I mean, obviously, like I just mentioned, we're here to kind of learn how to love and accept ourselves. And sometimes, more often than not, we tend to look outside of ourselves for that happiness, and we'll try to fill that void by doing different things. And for some people, it's saying yes all the time, and that's definitely at their expense. because, they're not able to do what they really need to do to just kind of stand healthy, in a healthy place. So that's just one of the reasons why, it's okay to say no. And once I was able to really kind of understand that and honor myself more. I mean, I will always be a giver and enjoy doing that and being of service, but we got to take care of ourselves first, so that we can truly, authentically be there for other people and not deplete ourselves.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are so many habits in this book, and
Yeah.
I just kind of
like 48 chapters, I think.
Right. And I like the way you have them bite-sized. It kind of lets me read daily. I stopped reading the book that I was reading previously to kind of, read this one daily. I read through it, and now I'm actually taking my time and reading it chapter by chapter. I really like this book.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. And I just want to know, which habits do you think are the most important habits, or is there a single one that you would say is more important than all of the others?
Boy, that's kind of, I think, a personal question for everybody who might be reading it, because we're all similar and we're all kind of ultimately working on the same thing, but yet we're kind of doing it maybe in different steps, or something might really be more impactful at that moment for somebody than it is for somebody else. However, I think balance is really important. And for me, it's no accident that my very first book was on a whole bunch of different ways to stay in balance, because these last 10 years, as I've kind of rode the roller coaster of success and failure and tripping up and going through, little depressive moments like everybody else, having the tools to stay in balance, for the most part. I mean, balance is a moving target, so it's not always going to be the same. But it really, for me, learning how to take care of myself and know what kept me in balance and what throws me out of balance enabled me to flow through those difficult times, a little bit easier. So I think, life balance, striving for life balance is a really, really important habit for all of us to, be aware of.
Perfect. I agree. Okay, Brian, is there anything that you have for our viewers to take away for 2019? Just one takeaway.
Wow.
One takeaway. One
powerful. I always like to just let people know that there's a quote that I have used a lot in my books, and I have a domain for it. I haven't utilized it yet, but it's be yourself to free yourself. And I know that has been my savior. Once I really learned how to just, honor who I was and what I had to work with, and accepted that just felt like it took a lot of weight off my shoulders. And so, I just want everybody to know that they're enough, just being who they are and what they have to work with, and just, honor what you're feeling, and, step into it. And you don't have to, do what everybody else is doing. And social media makes that kind of tough, I think, sometimes, because we see everybody's best. We're witnessing everybody's best while we're comparing it with our worst. So be yourself to free yourself.
Wonderful. I love that. Be yourself to free yourself. That's powerful, Brian.
Thank you.
All right, guys. There you have it, Mr. Brian Benson. You want to get a copy of this book? I will be on my lives with this book again. Habits for Success by Mr. G. Brian Benson, available on Amazon. And a great price, by the way. Okay?
So yeah, thank my publisher for that.
Indeed. So, guys, this is it. Thank you. If you would like a copy of today's episode, please send me a DM and I will send you an audio or video recording of this interview with Mr. G. Brian Benson. A lot of takeaways, a lot of nuggets, especially our last nugget. Be yourself to free yourself. All right. Okay, Mr. Benson, thank you so much for being here with us today. All right.
My pleasure. Thank you, Shai.
You're most welcome. Bye.